Yes, YouTube, what is going on? So I was recently invited onto the Perform Well podcast, which was a really exciting opportunity. So thank you to the boys, Nick and Dan, for having me on. Before we dive into it, I wanted to give you a bit of context. So we talked about all things fitness, mindset, no-nonsense nutrition to basically become the best version of yourself. And also a little bit about how I started my own fitness journey and got into what I do today. So there's a lot in here that can help anyone who's felt stuck, burnt out, or like they just needed a reset. So without further ado, let's dive into it.
Welcome back, guys. Today we have Luke. Luke, how we doing, man?
Absolutely brilliant. Excited to get into it.
Good, man, mate. It's been a while. We're back in the London studio. For those that don't know, first thing we want to dive into is misconceptions. What's the biggest misconception that you've seen or heard of in the fitness industry?
I think it's that always doing more with everything is better. So what I mean is more movement. So overtraining, doing too much. More supplements, that's a big one for me. The amount of supplements out there now and the things that you have to apparently take to get healthy, I think that's a really big one. And more like restriction as well, I think. So like with food, restricting certain food groups or not being able to have the odd, meal out or something because you want to lose fat or something like that. I think that's, for me, one of the biggest misconceptions.
Got it. You mentioned the supplements part, actually. Here's one for you. What do you recommend? Supplements versus whole food? Like, let's say someone is struggling to get the whole food in to get all the nutrients in their diet. Do you think supplements is something they should be taking, or should they still focus on getting the whole foods in first?
Great question. I think I'm a big advocate for whole foods. So I'm always whole foods first. I think there could be a little bit of leeway when it comes to supplements for like certain diets. So we work with a lot of vegetarian clients, and I think they're obviously, by the nature of your diet, you're going to be lacking in certain things. So I think that's an exception, when you're actually on a certain diet, like for your religion, for example, then okay. But I'm always, whole foods first, like whatever it is, try and get as much of your nutrition in through that. And then if, like you take a test or something and you need a certain supplement, like you are lacking, then I think, okay, it's all right.
I think it's an important conversation to have with a lot of people. And as you just touched on that, I don't think people really value the essence of whole food. People talk about it a lot, but I don't think people actually value how important whole food is into the diet. And I had a conversation with a client today, and I said to her, she was like, I really want to improve the whole foods I'm having. And I looked through her tracker and I was like, you do realise that 80% of your diet is whole foods anyway? She's like, yeah, but I need more. I'm like, what do you mean you need more whole foods? I'm like, you have the balance. The balance is right here. Just kind of stick with it. And I think people get confused on like the difference between your kind of whole foods, your processed, your ultra processed a lot of the time. And people will delve into it too much. People will trying to refine their diet to perfection. Do you find with people as well, this kind of level of dietary perfectionism maybe limits people?
100%. I think that is a massive thing when it comes to diet, and I've realised that people are so like concerned with, like I do a lot of like to-do lists with my clients. So like, making sure that, they're taking off certain things throughout the day. And I think if they miss one thing, then it's the all or nothing approach, isn't it? And I think that's the same with diet and whole foods. And I think people think, they've got to get absolutely everything in every single day, every single nutrient, tick off every micronutrient, like. A lot of the time you just need to be consistent with the basics, and whole foods 80% of the time, you don't need to be a perfectionist about it. Just have a balanced diet and you're winning.
Yeah, I agree with you. And like we've said this before, like when people think processed foods, people don't realize that if you take a jacket potato and take the skin off it, it's technically processed in some way. Like that's just the most basic element of what processed is.
Yeah.
But I think the better way to look at it is ultra processed foods. The ones that have been then stripped from their vitamin and mineral content, potentially not the best types of quality food in terms of the soil they're grown in. Like it's very hard when you get to the spectrum of processed foods to know which one is bad for you and which one's good for you. And there's apps out there that can bridge the gap slightly. So if we're going to eliminate a processed food from most people's diet that you see on their diet plan that they're currently eating, what is the one that comes up most often that they could probably look at removing and adding something else?
Okay, so we're talking ultra processed food because, like you said, I think that's the thing as well. Making sure that you understand that some foods, like you said, are processed and not ultra processed. Technically, like say Greek yogurt is technically processed, but understand the difference between ultra processed and processed first and foremost. I'd say in terms of your question, one that I would eliminate straight straight away. If we're talking ultra processed, I think a lot of people do struggle with drinks and fizzy drinks. I think a lot of the people that I work with is fat loss as well. So that's just unnecessary liquid calories. But I'm big on nutrition quality as well.
I want to talk about diet drinks, mate, because that's a controversial topic for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think it is to definitely dive into that. But I would definitely say, yeah, like if you're thinking straight off the bat, you know, off the top of my head, something that a lot of people do struggle with is fizzy drinks. And I think that's one.
Because I was saying to Dan just before this podcast that I saw in your story yesterday that you were talking about adding, well, you were drinking this fibre drink, this greens drink. And I think you were saying about you're not protein first, your gut health first, and then protein second, etc. Maybe we want to expand a little bit on like what the philosophy behind that is, as opposed to the high protein diets that most people are told to eat.
I think, yeah. So I literally put in a caption to that topic. Hold on, let me explain, because I think people will get like, whoa. But I think, when it comes to that side of things, that's from my own journey that I realised when I was chasing aesthetics rather than, you know, long-term health and being able to lift my kids up or grandkids up at 60. That's when I realised, you know, all these protein products, you know, protein yogurts, protein puddings, all these things, I was just forcing it to get the protein in, and I was bloated. I might have looked like in the best shape of my life, but I felt horrendous. So now what I meant by that reel was that fibre is one of the most essential nutrients for your gut health. And I've learned a lot more over the past couple of years on gut health and how important it is for your journey. So when you're talking about fibre versus protein, it's not a versus thing. It's that both are so important. But now I put a big emphasis on getting the fibre in, because that supports your gut a lot.
What about the people like Liver King, the carnivore diet people out there that say fibre isn't needed? Just curious.
I don't even know where to start. Because
I agree with you. I think fibre is important. I'm not against you on that topic, but there's a lot of people out there that do carnivore diet that apparently feel good on the carnivore diet. There's also people that don't feel good, and their diet is notoriously low in fibre. 0, I think, in most cases.
Pretty much. Yeah, like I said, I don't know where to start with that topic. I think at the end of the day, like, some people, it works with their body and whatnot. But I think that if you look at the research, and that's what I'm big on now, is that, you know, like, rather than following social media trends and what works for some people, you know, actually look at the evidence behind it, because that's what research and science is for, right? And these people are lacking in so many nutrients that have been shown in so many cultures and so much of the past that fibre is so key, and you're just lacking in that. So, like, for those people who do go on carnivore and whatnot, they might feel great because, you know, they're just eating pure whole foods at the end of the day. But you're lacking in some key nutrients that's going to support so many different things. So it would be interesting to see, like, if we're talking proper gut health and we're getting into it, how is their digestion? How is their, like, stool movement? Things like that. Like, are they actually, you know?
I want to see some scientific tests with these people. I mean, Liver King's probably the worst candidate for that.
Probably
considering
never do it either.
But like, let's say I'm another carnivore diet guy out there. Let's get their gut health tested. Let's see the results.
Yeah.
Do it, though, that's the thing. Because they know the answers.
I want to know what their toilet habits are like as well. I want to know what their partner thinks of them.
Yeah.
You know, in those moments that we don't get to see.
It's true, though, because they promote all these things, but that's, again, goes back to social media. Like, he's going to say, like, it's brilliant for him and it works for him, but then you're not going to see the behind the scenes, like the actual stuff that gut health does do for them. Is that, like you say, is it good? Is their partner happy with how everything is going at home with that? But I don't know where to start with that. Like, what you said about that post that I put up, I had loads of replies, and people were saying, you know what, like, I did do it. I did carnivore, I did keto, and I just stopped after. I felt brilliant at the start. Yeah. You know, they probably lost a lot of weight, a lot of it probably water weight as well. And then they were like, you know what, after a few months, I couldn't do it. It just wasn't sustainable. And that's the main thing, isn't it? Like, I would say, what's the point in doing something for 6 months or 6 weeks that you can't do forever? You're just building unsustainable habits.
And there's a social element as well. Like, people don't think of the social element. They're saying, well, if you're hanging around people that just drink on the weekends, then stop hanging out with them. It's like, well, what if you don't want to stop hanging out with them? What if you like them? What if they're your family? Like, you're supposed to just stop drinking with them? Like, why do you have to stop drinking, first of all? Like, I'm not saying alcohol is necessarily good for you, but if it helps sustainability-wise to have a few drinks on the weekend, but you're clean the rest of the week, it could be a good thing. Like,
we live in such a world of absence, isn't it? Everyone thinks like something goes catastrophically wrong, and it's like, what can I remove? It's not like, what can I do about this? It's what can I remove? What can get eliminated? What needs to go? For example, someone might get a hangover from drinking and be like, I need to stop drinking. It's immediate. You have to have that an immediate effect. Whereas like we're discussing here, it's about small changes over time which lead to habits. You know, I now go on a night out and don't think I have to be bladdered to have a good time. I think a lot of us probably agree with that, but it's like a mentality you build up over time. And it's the same thing, I think, in a dietary structure, is understanding, oh, you're gaining weight. It's not the cheese that's causing you to gain weight. It's maybe the amount across your day that you're consuming. And cheese just is a high calorific food. You can try 50%, but maybe people don't like the taste of it. And I think these are things that people don't really factor in when it comes to kind of key swaps and key kind of behavioral changes, because us as coaches, we have these conversations with people weekly. And, you know, a lot of the time people think, I'm just going to come in, give me a training program, give me what to eat, I'll get progress. And I'm like, I can sit and tell you that I can get you results in 12 weeks, but I know what 12 weeks of good results look like. And if you don't show me in the first 2 that you're going to even adhere to, say, 60% of what we've just set, there's no point me writing you these programs. We need to talk on a behavioural aspect too. And I think that's where a lot of coaches are going, and a lot of training is going, which I think is important, and important to the listeners as well, that you need to discover the reasons why things aren't working. We're problem solvers at the end of the day.
Well, most people instinctively know what is good for them and what's bad for them, but then they get people online, normally marketing experts, that are very loud, very vocal, and they'll try and say something controversial to build their audience, and then that controversial element gets taken out of context, and then they get confused. Well, is protein the thing? Is carbs the thing? Is this the thing? And then people know what they should do, but they're confused by all the stuff going around their head. And it's only when they actually pay for someone and commit to a coach like yourself and ourselves that then they actually sit down and do the thing.
Yeah, I think that's spot on as well. Like you say, both of you said like things about, it's just getting overcomplicated, isn't it, really? Like you say, like someone might post something about, make sure you drink this before you eat and you'll lose body fat, or do this and you'll lose body fat, or you'll gain muscle by doing this. And it like people are just like trying all these little things, but they're not nailing the basics. And like you say, behaviours, I think, is a big thing. Like you could have the best meal plan in the world, the best training plan, but if you don't have the right mindset and behaviour and habits behind it at first, then you won't stick to it. So you need to focus on those first before thinking, oh, what recipe should I make today? Because if you don't have the understanding and knowledge of, you know, the foods that you are eating and consuming on a day to day, then you're not gonna stick to it, really, I think.
No, and a lot of the time as well, we probably get the comments, and other people get the comments when they're scrolling through social media, and they're like, why does it look so easy for other people? Why does it look so complicated for me? Why don't I understand this? You know, it's refining a skill over time. You know, defining a skill is having the knowledge and doing the reps on that skill, and that repetition of the skill to get to that mastery point. Same thing applies to diet. It's not a case of going on a diet for 2 weeks, seeing a couple of kilos come off and being like, oh, I've done it now. That's great. I know what I'm doing. I'm like, no, it's now going to get tough. The get to week 3 is going to get tough. And normally a lot of people boil off after 2 weeks anyway. That's why people do like 28-day challenges, 14-day challenges, because we know adherence. We know where, and if we're talking about a marketing standpoint, there's a reason you see so many of them. And they're not a bad thing. Because you get people who do continue it on. We've had people lose 7 kilos over the course of 8 weeks, and they just kept going after that. You know, they did amazing. One thing I did want to touch on a little bit, and it's more a community that's kind of come in a little bit, aggressive dieting. I think this is an interesting topic. Now, Luke, are you familiar with aggressive dieting? So aggressive dieting has come into the fray, and it's come across both influencer and coach, and it's spoken about a lot, how people are saying that maybe it's more important that we do get our clients quick wins so they feel motivated to continue, and they can lose the amount of weight that they want to lose over 12 weeks rather than spread that over a sustainable 28, for example. What's your thoughts on it?
I don't really like it, to be honest. I think that aggressive things, whether it be aggressive training, aggressive diets, I just think that it won't last. I just can't see it lasting. But I do get what you're saying in terms of like they might get a quick win and see the weight loss or their changes in their body shape, and they'll be a bit more motivated. But when you think like if, for example, someone has a daily like maintenance of 2,000 and they're eating 1,200 calories, you're not going to be able to do that forever. Like you're just not. And then you've just created that habit of, you know, that aggressive cut, and they, you know, think that that's the only way that they can lose weight is if they go too aggressive, and then it can mess up things inside, and you're just setting the tempo from the off that this is what you need to do to get good results.
Yeah.
But I think in the industry, you know, people will do that because, you know, like say 12-week 10 kg weight loss transformation looks brilliant on their Instagram, and then someone else will think, I can do that in 12 weeks. But I think if you're looking at a diet, it's the best diet is the one that you can stick to, and I just don't think people can stick to that.
Yeah, make sure you clip that one, because that is actually the most important thing. It's the one that you stick to. I think I've heard this phrase thrown around by a lot of coaches, and yet never gets famous, never gets viral. No one
I've
cares
got a
about
better one.
What's that?
A diet is like a relationship. If you feel the need to cheat on it, it's probably not going to be sustainable.
Yeah, man.
I like that.
I've
It's
heard this one
true.
as well. This
It's
is a good
true.
one.
Are you okay? So then that's an interesting question. Your opinion on cheat meals? What do you think of them?
Again, I think it ties back to that exact quote. I don't think that if your diet, for me, fitness is something that has to be sustainable. So if you feel the need to, like, you know, restrict your calories throughout the week, bank up calories to then have a cheat meal, then that's just creating a bad behavior pattern, really, because a cheat meal is something that, you know, like I say, it's something you feel like you need to have to be able to keep this diet going. I'm not even a fan of the word diet, because I feel like if you want it to be sustainable, why do you need to diet? It should be, these eating patterns should be stuff that you enjoy and food you enjoy, meals you enjoy. So I think, yeah, when it comes to cheat meals, I'm not the biggest fan. Bodybuilders use cheat meals, right? Because that's where they're going to get their aesthetic from.
This is what I was going to say to you after you finished speaking there. I was going to say, like, I've done bodybuilding. I've been on shows and stuff like that. And I've always called it a cheat meal. And a cheat day, etc. But I think by my understanding of it is different than the word I use. Like, I don't think of it as a cheat. I think of it as just a refeed day, or you could call it refeed in this context.
Refill just doesn't sound as sexy.
It doesn't sound as sexy, but in my head, I'm thinking refeed. I'm thinking this day allows me to just stoke my metabolism a little bit more, have a bit of a break mentally, maybe use that for more social occasions that particular day of the week, and then go back to dieting again. And so that mental break can really help. But I think you're right about the context of using the word cheat can bring so many connotations with it that I probably don't use myself, that other people might use, that then means they're more likely to have a bad relationship with food. So I agree with you in the sense of cheat meals and cheat days shouldn't be a thing. But maybe we just got to change the terminology a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's spot on.
Refeeds.
Depends on your goals, I think, as well. Like you said, you did bodybuilding, and refeed cheat meal days is a big thing for that. But if you're talking about the general population who just want to be a bit healthier, lose body fat, gain some muscle to live longer, then 80-20 principle, right? So like that 20% is where you're going to have maybe something a bit cheeky.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have to be labelled as a cheat meal that you're starving yourself throughout the week for to enjoy that. Like you eat well, predominantly whole foods for the week, and then you have maybe a takeaway or a meal out with your partner or friends or whatever. And then that way you're keeping it sustainable because you're still keeping those foods you love in your diet.
So let's expand on this 80-20. For those that don't know, I'm sure some people know, but what is the 80-20 and what is the 80% particularly in reference to?
Yeah, so I have taken on this approach and it's been the best thing that I've ever done. I used to do the same as you, aesthetics only, but now like the longevity with that 80-20 principle is brilliant, and I use it with all clients, anyone that I know I recommend it to. So 80%, you know, the foods that are genuinely known to make you feel good. So whole foods predominantly, you know, your lean proteins, your healthier fats, complex carbs, all those, the good stuff that's going to make you, it naturally does make you feel good because they're single ingredient foods. 20% is where, like for me, my 20% is an almond croissant. I love an almond croissant. I'm never going to, you know, stop eating those, even though I know that the 20% side of things is probably, you know, going to make me feel a bit lethargic. I might get a few more cravings after eating it. But I know that, okay, I'll just, you know, I've still had that 80% the majority of the week. I know I'm on track for my goals.
So are you saying that if you have 80% of your diet in one day good, you can have an almond croissant every day?
No.
Right.
That's not what I'm saying. No. I see people though, you know, like they'll say, you know, you can have a good dessert every day and things like that. For me, I feel like if I do that, I get more cravings as a result, even if it's paired with protein and fiber. But if, you know, for you, you can handle that and you can, you know, stay away from the cravings even after you have a chocolate bar every night. Okay, fair enough. But I'd say, 80% of the week, or, the time of your fitness journey, just your general health lifestyle, like I said, it's got to be sustainable for a while.
Right, I've got a big one for you guys real quickly. So just on the topic of this, because I feel like it's very relevant, is we're talking about gut health for a moment. So what do we think about protein snacks? I'm talking protein bars. I'm talking protein milkshakes, like processed foods. They are processed. What do you think?
They're ultra processed.
What do you think of those when it comes to gut health, the 80-20 rule, getting in shape?
I don't like protein snacks, protein bars, protein puddings. Like I said, I used to eat them all the time, every day, just to hit my protein target. I think you can literally get. I think also protein is people overcomplicate protein. Say you need to hit 150 grams, 200 grams a day. For someone who's a bit smaller, doesn't weigh as much, they don't need that. But people think that they need so much protein that they force these protein snacks into their diet. Let alone like you say, they are, a lot of them, ultra processed.
Mate, I've had so much success with telling people the most basic thing, which is just have 200 grams more meat for your dinner than you normally would, and they do that, and they're like, oh, I hit my protein target. Really easily.
Magical, isn't it?
Yeah.
Magical. And then they go, it's too expensive, though, to do that, don't they? That's the argument that comes in. When actually you're buying a protein bar, let's say grenade bars, for example, in this instance, because they are the culprits across the industry. They're 20 grams of protein in the new ones, and they're they're probably £3 now, aren't they? They've crept up.
Yeah, they're going up.
£3.50 for a bar that gets you 20 grams, whereas you add another 100 grams of chicken breast, that technically cost you £1 if you're taking
how much is a pack of 400 grams of chicken in Tesco?
Fuck, it's like £6-7 now, isn't it? Though?
It's not good.
No, it's expensive, but it's cheaper overall, and for the quality of protein that you'll be getting, it's just a better source. We break it down better. And I'll be honest, one thing, if anyone's sitting there thinking, you know what, I quite like a protein bar, if you're thinking, are they beneficial? How do you feel after that protein bar? Yeah. That's the conversation I always have. There are brands out there that are pretty good. Let's say Optimum Nutrition. They're normally pretty good. They understand that need some fibre in there. Huel aren't bad. They've got some ifs. But there are companies out there that are making sure that they're starting to go down that line.
Yeah.
If we're looking at stuff like My Protein from years gone by, though, you think of the bars, the cookies, the pancakes, everything that they've done is just stoked full of whey protein, but they've got nothing in there that gives it kind of the viability.
Well, I think when you tell someone to up their protein and you give them some suggestions, I think most people fall on the easy stuff, which is the protein yogurts, the protein snacks, all that stuff. And then before you know it, their diet is about 75 grams of protein from just processed foods alone. And it's and then you know their gut is not loving it because most people can't handle lactose particularly well, but there's a lot of people that obviously don't feel necessarily bad effects from it. But then when you add that with all the other stuff that they're stripping from those protein bars and adding to it, it just doesn't feel good.
Yeah, I completely agree. And you touched on the gut health side of things and those things. That's what woke me up to it the most, is how I actually, how you actually feel. Every time I get a lot of my clients to send me the foods they're eating and whatnot on day-to-days and things. And I see a lot of protein yogurts when you say, up your protein intake. A lot of it is, okay, let me get this protein yogurt. It says 20 grams of protein on it, which is a great marketing tool. Fair play to the brands, put high protein and someone's going to buy it. But when you start incorporating more of the processed proteins, you just notice after it, you don't feel great. And also I don't think you feel as full even after these, even though they're high in protein, which is a sign for you because that's what it's there to do, the protein. But when you have a chicken breast or eggs or whatever it is that's a whole food natural source, you don't fancy something straight after having 5 eggs. I know that for sure.
No, it's very voluminous, isn't it? I think let's touch on that a little bit because food volume is as important as looking at the calorie counting side of it. Sure. And I think people don't get this right with their meals because let's look at someone I've described to people in the past. I say, if you're going out for dinner, just to make sure it has a protein source in it. Okay, you can have your basket nachos and stuff like that. That's okay, but just make sure there's something in there that's protein and it's viable and it's actually something nutritionally dense. Because if you're just having cheese and fried tortilla chips, let's be honest, you're probably going to be feeling hungry in about an hour's time. Go for that brownie dessert you probably don't need, and then it kind of just goes Pete Tong for the day.
You know what fills you up, though? A kebab.
Yeah,
a kebab fills you up.
Depends what it follows. Because you've been out drinking, it always fills you up after that. But
I've seen some clean kebabs these days, like German doner kebab. You've got a kebab shop down in Southampton that it's very low in oil. It tastes good. It actually tastes like high protein snack. And then the Greeks, they make it in such a way, and the Turks make it in such a way that it's actually not that bad in terms of the fats that are on it.
I think that's a thing to touch on as well. Like I said, the Greeks, the Mediterranean diet is very much, like I went to Sicily last week, and you're having croissants, you're having pizza, you're having pasta, but it doesn't taste like a croissant or pizza or pasta that you have over here or America, for example. Like, it just tastes processed here and there. But there, the ingredients and the quality of the foods are a lot better. So it's just like you touched on, nutrition quality is a big thing as well to think about when.
But what about gluten? Because obviously gluten's in a lot of products that are carb based. Gluten intolerance, whether extreme or not, is quite prevalent in a lot of people. So what does that do when it comes to gut health, etc.? Like, should we demonize gluten?
I think that's a great topic, and I think a lot of people think, like say lactose and gluten, someone might have a little bit of bloating or feel a bit of indigestion after we eat and think instantly I'm lactose intolerant or I'm gluten intolerant because I've had bread and I feel a bit bloated. Again, nutrition quality, if you have sourdough, for example, and compare it to, a white bread that you get from the supermarket, there's other stuff in it that's going to make you feel that way. So I think unless you genuinely have had a good gut test, because there's a lot of rubbish tests out there as well, by the way. If you've had a good quality gut test and you found out, okay, I genuinely am gluten intolerant, then okay, you can start reducing it. Or if you reduce it for a month and you notice you feel a lot better, then okay. But I think a lot of people will get a little bit of something after a bit of dairy or a bit of gluten and instantly think, all right, I'm gluten intolerant, let me cut it out. And then you're just cutting out a lot of things that you potentially love or potentially things that are actually good for you as well.
I'll tell you what, this ties in really nicely to this conversation. I don't know if you guys saw this reel. There was a reel with a lady who was tripping around Europe, and she originally is from the UK, and she's gluten intolerant normally in the UK. However, she wanted to try some bread while she was out in Italy. And she tried some of this bread while she was in Italy and said she had the bread and she wasn't gluten intolerant. Really interesting reel depicting the different quality of make in the products that they're buying. Heated a debate online basically saying that food in other countries is processed differently. That equals to the gluten content of it. It was not. She was buying like Hovis bread from the shop, basically white-based bread. I'm like, it comes down to quality. Because if she went to the baker's normally, picked up like a freshly baked loaf in the UK, I'm sure she would have probably been okay. But the thing is, accessibility-wise, it's easy to walk to a Sainsbury's local than it is to go down a baker's nowadays. Same with the butchers. We don't do that. People see it as more expensive. These kind of things fall over, but it's characteristic to the conversation.
But with farming practices as well, like depending on the farm that something's grown on, the topsoil can have different nutrient quality with it as well. That's why we have crop rotation to try and generate more nutrients in the soil. So next time they grow something, it's got the nutrients it's supposed to have. So maybe it's a case of when you go to a different country, they've got different farming practices, and so they have more nutrient diversity in their topsoil. That means the food's more nutritious.
So could we then go back to an argument? This may spark a bit of a debate. Do we think that farming practices in the UK aren't necessarily helping the nation's nutrition?
I mean, let's compare it to America first of all.
Well, yeah, I think we're doing better than America most of the time.
I think we're doing better than America, so we're not the worst, that's for sure.
That's always a win, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sorry, Americans, you suck.
No, I think it is a topic to consider though, like the farming side of things and whatnot. Because a lot of people online again sprayed with pesticides, this and that. But I think nutrition quality is a big thing, and even like people are saying about chickens now and chicken breast and things like that, and how they're fed, and how that impacts things, and how have we got so much chicken breast? Where's this coming from? Like, and people are saying steroids into the chickens, this and that. But at the end of the day, what I say is when it comes to like chicken breast, you can't compare a chicken breast to a grenade bar, for example. Either way, even if the chicken has been whatever it's done. I think again it comes to prices as well. Some people can afford to go organic, farm, grass fed. Other people can just afford to get chicken from Sainsbury's or Tesco's. If they're still choosing those options over a lot of the ultra processed stuff out there, they're making a better decision. I think that's what people get confused
It makes
on.
it difficult because if you think about it, the people that have more money can access foods that are potentially more nutritious. So is this an argument of the rich are going to be healthier because of that? Or is there something that people that potentially are a little bit poorer can do to enhance their odds of being healthy?
Definitely. I think that a lot of the time, cost and price of things, people will tend to use that as an excuse. Like they'll say that chicken is too expensive or this is too expensive. But then, you might still be spending the same amount on your takeaways and your ultra processed food that you would if you made smart choices or learned from someone else how you can get healthy food in a cost efficient way. So I think that price a lot of the time is used as something as an excuse to be unhealthy.
The amount of money people spend on a weekend,
Exactly.
like especially in London, like anyone that's in London, oh my god, 200 quid for a night, easy.
Yeah,
Even more than that.
yeah.
For 8 pints probably, that's about it. And they'll save up their money in the week. They'll be like conservative with their food intake, etc. And then they'll go on the weekend and spend 200 quid. And it's like, if you just took 100 quid of that back and did a food shop, did a meal prep,
Yeah.
50 quid or even 75 quid or whatever, you would be so much better off.
But it's mindset because people are going for coping mechanisms then, aren't they? Because
Yeah.
it's like, what's going to give me a quick release of dopamine? Sinking 6 pints, sitting in a sunny garden with my mates. Then I forget about the diet that I'm on, have a good laugh, have a good crack, and you see it. I'm not necessarily demonising that because it's, you've got to have those
important.
memories. It's important.
Yeah.
But again, it's a trade-off at the end of the day. Are you looking at losing body fat at this point in time? Yes, no. If no, crack on, enjoy yourself, whatever you're doing. But if you're looking at fat loss, you have to understand stuff like alcohol consumption, not choosing these whole foods, just for a short period of time. Look, we've said it before. Fat loss phases, dieting phases aren't meant to last forever. I always say to people who come in and do coaching, I'm like, I don't want you in a diet the whole time I'm coaching you. I want you to be losing the body fat and put you up to maintenance as quick as I can so we can focus on the fun shit, which is strength goals. Let's be honest. That's the fun bit.
Or performance goals.
Or
whatever
performance goals, yeah.
thing is. So let's say there's the 12-month time frame. Someone comes into your coaching. How many of those months in that year should they be cutting for?
That's a great question. I would say it depends on where they begin as well. As if someone comes in like severely overweight, then we're going to have to, cut for, say, like 3-4 months. I do think that you do need to incorporate things like diet breaks as well. I think a lot of people don't realise or don't know about them. They think, I've had people say they've come in and they're like, I've been in a deficit for a year. And I'm struggling. I'm struggling to lose weight now. And I say, well, no wonder you've been literally putting your body under stress for a year. So I think again, depends on the weight that they come in at, and some people also have time frames in mind that are very unrealistic.
Yeah,
and they'll say they'll come in at 150 kilos. They say I want to be 130 kilos by next month.
So I agree with you 100%. It depends, because the only reason why I say that is because I normally would say you shouldn't be cutting for more than 3 to 6 months a year.
Yeah.
Like you should at least be maintenance or more most of the time, and if for enjoyment of life as well. But then obviously Mark, Mark, we've had who was 225 kilos, now 135 in 10 months.
It's unreal.
90 kilos in 10 months.
That's quality.
And he's just been cutting, and it works for him. Like it's different for some people, because when you've got someone super overweight like that, their body has so much energy stored on their body. So when they're in a deficit, they're not starving.
Yeah.
Their body's using energy it's stored. So people think that you're starving. You're not starving. You're using it.
Yeah.
But other people that are like 130 kilo, when it gets to 100, it's going to take slightly longer, because as the lower you get, you can't lose fat as quick, and that's completely fine. That's a good thing. So normally I would say 3 to 6 months a year max cutting, depending on your stage.
I agree.
Yeah.
I don't think that, you need to be in a deficit for a whole year or 2 years and things like that. It's just crazy. But I think people don't also have the knowledge about it. They'll hear calorie deficit online, eat less, move more, and then they'll eat less and move more for years on end, because...
What would you do if you had a fat dog? You'd make it eat less and move more. It works for a dog, it works for you.
Yeah,
like, that's the argument, isn't it?
That's what people think, though. Like, you just...
But dogs don't have opposable thumbs or credit cards, so...
I think that's it, though. People don't understand, like, they just get told these things and they don't know how to apply them.
Yeah.
That's the thing. You can get told to eat less and move more. You can go on YouTube. You can use AI now. You can go get a meal plan or find out what you need, but you don't know the whole process of the year, the months, how it changes. So I think it's spot on. 3 to 6 months. Any longer, you're just you're not gonna enjoy life as well.
Yeah, exactly. If we got rid of that, eat less and move more, like, tagline, and just changed it to something that was more effective, what would it be?
Wow.
It's a tough one, actually.
Without using ChatGPT.
Very interesting question. So not eat less, move more. We can't use that at all.
Can't use that. What's more effective? Because I would say we almost don't want to teach people to sacrifice. We always want to say eat more of this, eat more of these things. It's probably the best way of framing it.
I think in a way it's not necessarily
eat more, move less. Eat more, move more. There we go.
I think people reduce a lot of things or to cut out a lot of things. So if there's a way that you could, I'm not the best at creative phrases and that's why Mark did have those. But I think, adding in things that are going to benefit you more is going to help you out. So rather than, thinking I need to cut out bread, I need to do loads of cardio, like what can you do the basic sustainable habits more of? Or it's the same, applies to gut health. What can you add in rather than, just take out? Like, what can you add in that's going to help you? If you're, eating a lot of ultra-processed food and not moving, okay, can we start moving first and foremost? Because that's going to help you out. And what can you, add in more of whole foods that are going to make you not as tempted to have the ultra-processed food?
So something just to mention back on the topic of Mark real quickly, based on what you said, is that he had a month where he didn't lose weight. Well, he lost 1 kilo, so technically it's pretty good still, but nothing like the 11 kilos he lost in 1 month. And the only thing he stopped doing in that month was he stopped walking. Because he did a big walking challenge like a month before that, lost loads of weight, and then stopped walking, didn't change his diet. Still on 2,000 calories, which is super low for his weight, by the way. You should be dropping quick at that range. Starts walking again, and he drops another 8 kilos. Like, movement is so important.
Yeah. I think the type of movement as well, like you said, I think a lot of people underestimate the power of steps, like how crucial that could be for your fitness journey, because it's light intensity, it's not adding too much stress to your body. A lot of us can, get 5 to 10k steps in a day. Like, I think that walking is so underrated for actually calorie burn and the return of the effort that you're putting into it, because you don't have to train for a marathon to lose weight, but if you walk a bit more, you're gonna see a lot of benefits.
And actually, I'd argue gut health too, because there is a movement at the minute, pardon the pun, that people are looking to go for walks after evening meals because it helps put blood circulation towards the stomach to help the stomach digest and also feed the bacteria with oxygen, because when you're sat down, you're not using as much oxygen, not taking as much oxygen in because you don't need it. So it actually helps feed the bacteria a bit better in your gut to allow for better digestion. And it's something I've been using with my clients recently, is saying go for a 15-minute walk, a 10-minute walk after you've had your evening meal. It's one of the most, it's such a simple thing. And we've come away from that because we're sat there watching Netflix, mind numb, be like, should I get up? Nah. And that's the process, isn't it, of interesting.
Yeah.
I did want to talk on one point though, it just kind of carried over from what you were saying, because we've spoken a lot about a lot of people restricting themselves, and a lot of people over-restrict themselves for a long period of time. Big hot topic at the minute, cortisol and cortisol's play in weight gain and weight retention. You've probably had clients in the past, they come in and go, I've got a cortisol belly. What do you do with these people?
I think it's a big thing, and it leads back to gut health. I think stress that you put on your body obviously is going to raise cortisol, whether that comes through, work, whether it comes through overtraining or, relationship. We all have stress in life, unfortunately, but the impact that has on your body fat and retaining that, I think, is something that we don't really think about. I think that stress plays a huge role in gut health, a massive role in gut health, which obviously plays a massive role in your fitness journey. So I think that cortisol does play a big role. I think that some people, maybe mistake stress and what it can actually do as well. They'll say, oh, like, I'm stressed, like I've just instantly gained body fat. It's not that. It's okay, you're stressed, so maybe your coping mechanism is food, taking you into a calorie surplus as well, or your cortisol's raised, so you're gonna eat more, or you're not gonna move as much, or you are putting stress on your gut, and as a result, it's gonna give that cortisol belly look, essentially.
I mean, it's just a term at the end of the day, cortisol belly. I mean, it might have an influence for sure. Like, cortisol does have an effect on fat gain and muscle loss, etc. I think for those out there that want to understand a bit more about how that works, is you've got two main nerves that we talk about when it comes to stress, and it's the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. Like, we know about this stuff. So when we are stressed, we're 9 times out of 10 in the sympathetic nervous system. It's switched on, it's firing, it's creating cortisol, adrenaline, etc. And you don't need to be physically stressed to have that switch on. You could be thinking about something and be an overthinker and just worried about everything. Whereas with parasympathetic, oftentimes you can go for a walk, which is you moving, you're physically stressing your body in some way, even though it's a low intensity exercise, but you can actually be in a parasympathetic nervous system because your mind is switched off, and you could be relaxed and you could not be worried about what's going on around you. And so a lot of time reducing stress can be a mental thing and not a physical thing. 9 times out of 10. You know, there was this book I read ages ago. I can't remember the name of it, but it was basically showing what our ancient tribe self was like.
Yeah.
You know, it was like you get up, you know, your stress levels are quite low. Well, initially there's a cortisol spike, then it goes down. You would go hunt for some food, it will go up, and then you'll stop, and then you'll rest, and you enjoy. And it would be like these 2-3 like major spikes throughout the day, and your baseline will be down here. However true that is, we don't know. But nowadays, it's like you're spiked. You get the notification, spike again, spike again. You stay spiked all day, and then you crash, and then you go up, crash, and use coffee to try and bring yourself back up. But you're always in it. You're always in the sympathetic nervous system. Only getting like 8 hours a night where you're probably in any kind of state of like rest and digest. And that's if you have good sleep, which 9 times out of 10 people don't.
Yeah.
And
so true.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I think the stress thing is a massive thing. Like you said, touching on the parasympathetic, sympathetic, fight or flight mode, basically. Yeah. Back in the old days, you know, like the cavemen would be running away from tigers. Now, check your phone and you're in that. Like the difference is crazy, but there's so many more.
Oh, he's got more views than me. Oh, I'm stressed now. It's like nothing's happening to you. You're just like, oh, that threatens my existence. So now I'm stressed. It's like, no.
Or it's a belief that you think has now threatened your existence. It's mad, isn't it? Because this is the kind of change over time. It does get my gripe a little bit when we compare too much to like back in those years, because obviously we're now modern era. But it's important to obviously take profile on genuine genetic behaviours that we have and the systems that we have. When Nick spoke about cortisol spikes there, a cortisol spike isn't a bad thing. We want to clarify that is a perfectly normal human behaviour. Yeah. It's then the behaviour and action that comes after that cortisol spike.
Cortisol mobilizes fat as well. Does, so it's a good thing for the body. You do need some cortisol.
100%. Sure. And cortisol, for example, as you said, wakes you up in the morning. If we didn't have cortisol, you'd be asleep for eternity.
So we had this podcast, by the way, recently about bro science. What was it? It was science community.
Science versus old school. Yeah,
old school. So if we delve this a little bit deeper into maybe the ancestral living, not Liver King, by the way, because he's got a different ancestral living. Ancestral living versus modern day. Yeah. Do we follow what our tribes people did with their nutrition and movement in order to get healthy, or do we follow science and what's teaching us in order to get healthy?
I think that's a really good question. I think again, you can look at for example, the guy I don't know his name, who takes like 100 supplements or pills.
Brian Johnson.
He
both like Living King's also called Brian Johnson.
Okay.
Both the same age. One looks horrifically worse than the other, and you can guess which one that is. But
yeah, I think it leads to that though, doesn't it? Because like you've got two opposite ends of the spectrum with both people the same name. One person is doing ancestral. One person is going with science and has apparently predicted to live for who knows how long. So I think it comes back to again, like your goals. If you genuinely just want to be healthier, do the things that the ancestors done the majority of the time. But then if there is something that you can incorporate, like there are really good evidence-based things now that we can incorporate that can help us. So why would you not maybe potentially look into something that can benefit you just because you think our ancestors this and that? If we can live longer now, would you not want to live longer? So I think it's having a balance of both, I think, and but not getting too into.
How long would you want to live though? What was your limit? Because I don't know, man.
I think the way the world is now, I don't know.
I think healthier and longer, not just longer.
Yeah.
Because like I've had conversations, not to deep it too much, but you've had conversations like older people who are just like 96 years old and they're like, I'm done. Like I'm done. I've done everything I need to. I'm not healthy anymore. I'm bedridden. Quality of life. I think quality of life is important. Longevity and quality of life, which are two again buzzwords that people hear, but don't seem to sink in as much. Like you said there, you want to be the 6-year-old parent and grandparent that still picks up the kids and can physically manage to do that. And there were reels that were going viral like a little while ago that was speaking about, they were showing their grandparents lifting, and the reason they do it is to be able to bend down and pick something up out of a cupboard unassisted.
And it's not just old people either. There's 35-year-olds that look 45.
Yeah.
And there's also 35-year-olds that look 25. Because your rate of aging is not your number of years you've been on this planet. It's the rate of aging in terms of biological years. You could be biologically aging slower than someone else, which means you will look and actually be younger biologically than they will be. But we don't measure that. We measure years. So Yeah.
I think it's important to, honestly, great point you've touched there.
Yeah.
Because again, people don't factor that in when they're coming in. Everything when it comes to dietary stuff is all just superficial, I feel. Like it is, and it's important, yeah, you want to look good, you want to feel good. I get that from a premise, but you've got to look longer term than that. And I think one of the biggest driving factors, and one of my clients said it when they first started up with me, they said, I want to lose this weight so I'm physically able to do the things that I haven't been able to do for years. Powerful stuff, though. You know, if you're getting to a point where you are limited by your weight, that you physically can't do things.
But how much of this is because we're in shape? Because, you know, we're all in cracking shape. Look at us, you know. Because we're in shape, though, we say things that we might not have thought when we weren't in shape and we got in shape in the first place. Like, we're saying that it's aesthetic goals. Maybe we need to think more long term. But at one point, we were focused on aesthetic goals, and it got us to where we are now. How much of this is similar to a rich person saying, well, money doesn't make you happy, but they're rich? Like, you have to go through that journey at some point, and whatever the goal is, whatever the reason is to get you started, is completely valid.
Oh, I think that's it. I think it's the reason. I think like when you know have a fitness journey, or like we speak to someone who wants to lose fat or build muscle, I think diving into actually why they want to do that is a big question to ask them as well. Because do you just want to lose fat just to lose fat to look good, or is it because you want to lose fat so you're healthy for longer, you're not getting diseases and illnesses, or is it because you want to be around for your family longer? Like, what's your actual goal with losing fat? Because don't just come and say, I want to lose fat. Like, what's the actual why behind it? Because that's going to keep you, sticking to those things as well, I think.
And I think it's a motivating factor. I mean, someone asked me the other day, they were like, and I said that earlier, that it looks like we find it easy when it comes to fat loss. We could probably lose 10 kilos over the course of 8 weeks. We could do that and it would be healthy. We'd do it in a healthy manner for us. But someone asked me, they were like, it looks so easy for you. I'm like, yeah, well, I have a really deep set motivator for me. My why is nothing to do with how I look. It's not to do with what I can do. It is physically the fact that there are people in my life who are deprived of movement, who are deprived of breathing even. I had a nan who had her fibrosis in her lungs, so she couldn't breathe properly without a ventilator. Why am I now not taking the opportunity that I'm a fit 26-year-old that can go out and run, and I'm sat here on the sofa watching Netflix and I can't be bothered? I'm like, would my nan really want to see that of her grandson? And I think this is the mindset people need to get themselves in. It's not always about physically looking better, so you stare in the mirror and go, cool, I look cracking today. It's about going, but if I wasn't able to stand in front of this mirror, how would I feel?
Yeah.
And that's an important picture to reflect on, but people don't deep that. Some people are scared to deep that.
Some people do also have genetic advantages
of course
with fat loss. Like, if we're talking about the body types, I know that's been debunked in some way, but the traditional ectomorph is the skinny, lanky guy, which is something that I kind of grew up with. I do find it very easy to lose fat. It's not my problem is building muscle. That's my struggle that I've grown up with. There's people on the other side of the coin that can't lose fat very effectively. They can't process carbs very effectively, but they can build muscle so quickly. I'm talking about the Eddie Halls out there, big chunky guys. So there is some genetic advantage as well. Like, we can't compare to people that have that genetic advantage and think that we deserve to have it as quick as them or whatever. You need to find what your strength is for your body type and work to that advantage. So if you're someone that's an endomorph, you struggle to lose fat, get strong. Get strong as fuck. Build your metabolism as high as you possibly can. Use it, rev it up. Maybe you have to look at nutrition a bit differently. Doesn't mean you have to go extreme, but there are always going to be some types, some differences between us.
Yeah, I think what you touched on there, like strength training as well, is a big thing that people don't realise. They think like you said, us people who have been doing health and fitness for ages, they think we just strength train to go in the mirror and tense. Like, I could be furthest from that. Like, I don't care what like my bicep looks like in the mirror. I strength train because I know that building muscle is going to help me in the future when I'm older. By having that muscle, I'll be able to lose fat, for example, easier. But for someone who doesn't strength train because they think, oh, it's like I'm just doing it just to get muscle, it's not for looks, it's more for what it does for you when you're trying to lose fat. You've got more muscle, it's going to be easier to lose fat.
You said you're a semi-pro footballer, right?
Yeah.
So is the strength training to aid your football as well, or is that why maybe you're not like bodybuilding focused because you're a footballer and you prefer the athletic pursuit aspect?
To be honest, my like deeper reason why we do it is more like what's happened in my life. So I don't really do like I used to go aesthetic. I used to want to be so lean, six pack, all that. But my dad passed away and that happened like 4 years ago. And I'm fine. Like, I'm happy sharing it, like, because it made me realize that, you know what, what's this 6-pack going to do for me in 60 years time? You know, like you said, if you have the opportunity to wake up and look in the mirror and see your body in a healthy shape, and you have the opportunity to do that, and if you don't see something that you like, or you know you're not in the best shape, and you can move, you can make smart choices around food, then you have the opportunity to do that, and you have the opportunity to change. So if you don't know how to, then that's what, like, us, for example, that's why we do what we do, because we've learnt it for reasons that we've explained. So I think if you have the opportunity to make changes and for goals, like health goals, then do it. That's my reason. It's not actually like, you know, being the best athlete and whatnot. Don't get me wrong, I do train, you know, certain things, plyometrics and whatnot, because I know that's going to benefit me. But that's my goal. For someone who wants to lose fat, they don't need to be doing box jumps and all these things. Do you know what I mean? They just need to get in the gym a couple times a week. And
when we talk about athletic training, there's some ridiculous exercises. You look in the gym and it's like, what are you doing? And then when you find out what they're doing it for, it's like, oh, it makes sense now.
Yeah.
I've seen some weird exercises.
But that is genuinely so important that you touch on that. And obviously, thank you for opening up on that, because I think this is one of the things people lack. They don't deep their reasoning. They don't have a purpose with what they're doing. They're saying, I want to lose fat, so XYZ. The most powerful purposes are the things that the driving force that's going to get you your result. Regardless, like, everything will fall into place if you have a purpose with it, because you'll be motivated regardless of what you're doing. And like, I don't wake up and want to do my triathlon training. Fuck, would I want to spend 4 hours on a cycle? I don't want to do that. I just want to sit and enjoy my day. But you know what? I'm doing it because I have a purpose. I'm doing it because I have the ability to do it, and I'm doing it because I don't want to take advantage of my own life. And I think that's something that people are needing to recognise more so than anything else. Genuinely are.
So with that being said, then, what would you recommend if someone came to you and you're trying to figure out what their purpose is, and you're trying to instill it in them that they need to have a purpose of some kind? How do you find that? Like, is it the way you question them? Is it you take them through the 7 why exercises, for example? Is there something that you do to help bring out the why?
Yeah, I mean, when someone comes on board, first and foremost, like you say, I'm gonna dive into that. I did psychology at uni, so I'm not afraid to dive into the mindset and habits behind things, because I think that's the key, the mindset and the habits. I think you can give a great nutrition plan. People are experts in that. You can give an optimal bro training split, and someone might do something really well. But at the end of the day, sticking to those habits is your why. So when someone comes on board, I need to get that out of them and understand that, so that if, you know, they've eaten a bad meal, or, you know, like skipped a workout, they're not just going to stop there because they think, oh, I've ruined my weight loss journey. No, okay, I'll do it tomorrow, or I'll get back on track because I need to do this because I want to, you know, reduce my insulin resistance, for example. Or I've got to do this because if I don't, something the doctors told me is going to happen. So I think when you've got that, and we figure that out first and foremost, then you're going to be able to drive no matter what obstacle comes in your way. Because at the end of the day, you've got into this position through bad habits, and it's not easy to change. But if you do have a deep reason behind those why you want to change, you're going to be more likely to stick to it than just, I want to look good in the mirror. And
then once you find your deep why for the entire process of what you're trying to achieve, then you need to take each action as they come. Like, for example, maybe you might be in the gym trying to glow your glutes, because you want a big booty, so you can attract a guy. Who knows? You'll decide between an exercise and be like, well, why am I doing this exercise? Oh, wait, because it's going to build my glutes so that I can get that goal. And then you might link, well, why am I eating this protein? Oh, because it's going to help me rebuild more muscle tissue, which means a bigger booty, etc. You have to link these actions to the same goal. So when you were saying about it's the goal that matters first, that is 100% the truth. Like, you need a foundation to spring off. So if you're someone like me that's got this ADHD skitty brain that's like this all the time, it's very easy for me to go off in different directions, but this one little core thing every day keeps me grounded to have some level of stability. Because without that, you can just get distracted so easily. It's like going forward, but instead of having walls on either side, you're like going off track so quickly, so easily. You need something to stabilize you. So as a daily practice, what can people do?
What, to understand their deeper reason why?
To understand their reason why, to make sure they remember their reason why, and actually keep executing towards their goal.
I like habit stacking.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, not related to that, but say if someone, you know, forgets to take the, you know, I don't know, creatine, for example, but you have a coffee every morning, put it next to your coffee. Same thing with, like, put, your reason why with things that, you're going to do every day. So, like, even if it's, like, might sound like a bit woo-woo or whatever, but if you put, like, a Post-it note on your fridge, which you're going to go into every day, and in that fridge you have a load of chocolate.
Put the cookie down now.
But something like that, just something to let you know each day that, okay, like, all right, I want to lose 10 kg by June, or I want to do this for my kids. If that's on your fridge, you can't tell me that as a parent you're going to go to that fridge and take it, for example, this person's overweight, and they go to the fridge and they see, if I don't lose this, like, my kids, I might not be there for my kids. If you've got that reason there on the fridge where you're going, where the nutrition, the big part of these goals is made up of, you're going to see that and you're going to think, oh, I probably shouldn't have that Yorkie that's in the top.
But that's not even woo-woo. Like, I know this is a bit different in context, but Logan Paul, whether you love him or hate him, he said in his podcast once that he would put a Post-it note on his mirror saying, I'm going to be the biggest entertainer in the world. And now look at him. He's a WWE superstar, millions of followers, doing really well with his life, whether you love him or hate him. So I think that's, touches very similar to the law of attraction and just reminding yourself.
Yeah. I think people think that stuff like that, law of attraction, speaking things into existence, is a bit, crazy. Like, oh, these people, what are they talking about? But I think, like, we're very big on, stepping into that jacket of the person you want to be. If you, if you, for example, not related to fitness, you want to be a millionaire, and you wake up every morning and your day consists of sitting watching Netflix. Of course, you're not going to make £1 million because you don't make £1 million watching Netflix. So you need to do that. But thinking about your goal and doing the habits that are going to get you there, that's what's going to get you there. So I think law of attraction is a really big thing that, gets pushed to the side because, people think, oh, it's crazy. Like, I'm going to lose this 10 kg or I'm going to run a triathlon, but if you speak those things into existence, you're going to do the habits that are going to get you there. It's not that I'm going to make $1 million and it just comes to me. You do the habits that will get you there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's really important that people choose the right mentors as well when they go down these lines, because I watched a post that was Dan Martell was talking about this. If you guys who know Dan Martell, he was speaking about on his YouTube channel. He was like, you need to have yourself a mentor who's 10 years ahead of you. You need yourself to have like an affiliate who's 5 years ahead of you, and you need to have someone who's a couple of months ahead of you. And you work with these three people in tandem to get yourself along the line, because then you basically have your projection over that period of time to understand where you need to get to. Because at the end of the day, one of the biggest things I've always learned in business, in health, in performance, in life, is success leaves clues.
Yeah.
The most successful business owners leave clues.
Do you know Matthew McConaughey? I hope that's how you say his name properly. Yeah. He said that he's chasing the version of him 5 years from now.
Fair.
So we're all chasing something, but sometimes you don't need someone else outside of yourself either. It can just be you decide on what you want to be 5 years from now. You say, that's what I want to be. Try and feel what it's like to be that right now, and then chase towards that goal. That's what people do when they want to get a new bike or whatever. They start thinking about it and manifesting the idea of getting that bike, and then eventually have a bike because they thought about it. It's just these goals are sometimes quite long in terms of how, it's what's the word when you're delayed gratification. Sometimes we need delayed gratification for these longer term goals because they're harder to achieve, but people aren't willing to do that.
No, I think instant gratification is a big thing now, whether it comes to fitness, business, life, whatever. I think everyone's quite, they want that quick fix, which is why you go on social media, you scroll, you get that quick fix. It's why you have that ultra processed snack, because you get that little hit of dopamine and feel good for a second, then you crash. So I think, and it's the same with like a journey, a fitness journey. Someone will come in and work with people like ourselves and think, they're going to get there in 2 months, in a month. But really the process is delayed gratification, and you've got to train your mind and your body that it's not going to happen overnight, and one quick supplement, quick detox, quick cleanse isn't going to get you to where you want to be overnight. It's going to take the basic habits consistently.
Yeah, and it's important to remember that, isn't it? I think to round everything off here would be really important just to say to people is like, your journey is never going to be fluid. Never going to be fluid. It's never going to be one straight line. It's always going to be up and down. You can have peaks and troughs, but surround yourself with people that are going to be empathetic. They're going to understand where you're from and not just going to tell you to put the cookie down. Because at the end of the day, it's understanding why you're doing the things that you're doing that's going to lead to long-term changes. Now, Luke, I have one more question to ask yourself to leave the viewers with. and Nick hates it when I ask this one. If you were a fly on the wall, if you were a fly on the wall in your whole journey, starting from beginning to where you are now, what is one concrete piece of advice that you would give yourself?
Yeah, well, there's a lot. But if I was to give myself one piece of advice, I would say don't chase the quick fixes, because those short-term goals or quick supplements or quick foods, they're not going to be sustainable for your long-term goal. So focus on delayed gratification, being consistent with the habits that we know are going to work, walking more, strength training, eating predominantly whole food, sleeping, managing stress. Focus on those, and don't think that it's going to happen overnight, because it's not. Whatever your goal is, it won't happen overnight.
Absolutely perfect.
Love it.
Love that. Well, thank you very much, guys, for watching. We appreciate it. We appreciate Luke coming on here. Now, the last segment is, Luke, you can plug away. Where can people find more about you and your services?
My Instagram and most social media handles are at Luke Alfano Fitness.
Beautiful. Well, thank you very much. Thank you guys for liking, following, subscribing. Make sure to share this out. We want to try get the podcast out to more people. If you share it with your mum, if you share it with your dog, we don't care. As long as more people are watching to help people understand their performance and well-being. We'll catch you guys on the next episode.
Ciao.